And today I am joined by our Fire and Medical Chief, Chief Kuykendall, as well as Dave Pollock from Fire Productions of Arizona. We're here today to talk about fireworks, 4th of July, the celebration we always have, and how to kind of be safe this time of year when you're dealing with pyrotechnics, fire, and just the dry nature of what Arizona summers have to offer us. Independence Day is an important time in American history. It's an event that our nation can take part in to provide unity and celebration for all. And in our local communities, that's no different. For the past 20 years, the City of Cottonwood has celebrated Independence Day and has brought our community together and have opened our arms to welcome anyone who would like to join us in these celebrations. Although things may look a little different this year, our goal of inspiring a vibrant community does not change. We will continue to invite everybody to celebrate with us with open arms. And in this episode of Inside Cottonwood, we're going to discuss what this year's celebration will look like and how we will be bringing joy to our community while making sure we're doing so in a safe and responsible manner. So now let's turn our focus a little bit towards how Independence Day came about through our history. We all know in 1776, when the Declaration of Independence was going on, our country was going through a lot of things. We signed that Declaration of Independence, or they drafted that Declaration of Independence on July 2nd, actually, and then it wasn't adopted until about 80 changes occurred through that document, and then it was all signed July 4th. The president at that time, John Adams, decided it would be a great way to celebrate with fireworks, and we continue that tradition on through today. So what I asked for you guys, when we look at 4th of July, what are some of your favorite things about this holiday? Let's start with you, Dave.
Well, of course, fireworks are probably number one. My thing is, I always remember the boys on D-Day and what they did for us, and that's part of what I celebrate on the 4th of July. Of course, you know, it is our nation's freedom, and that's how we celebrate it. So a lot of things are going through my mind, but for some reason, D-Day is on my mind most often on the 4th of July, and a lot of our boys died that day, and I want to remember that. I don't want to forget them.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of boys have died, men have died in all wars, but for some reason, D-Day sticks out in my mind, and that's what's on my mind.
Absolutely, and I think that's fair. I think putting our armed forces and our military on top of everybody's mind is always a good thing to do. Chief, can I ask you kind of what's one of your favorite things about 4th of July and Independence Day?
You know, 4th of July, certainly what Dave said, and as we look back and we think of our military and all of those who have sacrificed so much for this country, and we look back now at all of these years that we have been an experiment, if you will, in a republic and a democracy, but we're not really a democracy, we're a republic, and that's important to understand. We have a say-so in how our government's run, but it's not. But there are rules that dictate how we have to live, the laws that we have, and all those things. But with that, we have a freedom that's not experienced by any other people in the earth that we live in. And for this 200 and I don't remember how many years it is. It's been a bunch. You know, that's what I always like to think of, and I look at this and say, this is a time that we set aside to remember how we started, what we were founded upon, our Constitution, the rights that we have in this country that surpass the rights that anyone experiences anywhere else in the world. It's very important to me that we remember that, and the price that was paid to keep those rights that we have.
Absolutely. I think this is a great day and a great celebration to remember those things and really remember why the United States of America is where we are at as a country. It really is a fun one. When I think about 4th of July, I oftentimes think about the City of Cottonwood Parks and Recreation fantastic family 4th of July event. Rightfully so. I've been doing it for 15 years. Every 4th of July for the past 15 years, you'd know where I would be. There at that park getting ready for our program. And although we still plan on doing stuff this year, it's not going to look quite the same this year, gentlemen. We're still going to be shooting the firework display, and we're going to get into talking about that here in a little bit. But our park celebration, unfortunately, we won't be able to host that the same way this year. So that changes how we kind of are approaching this event. typically we'd be out there, we'd be getting our bounce houses set up, we'd be doing the free food, the cookout with the Knights of Columbus and the Verde Clark Del Kiwanis. We've always worked with local partners to help pull those things off. And this year it's a little bit different with the situation we're in now, where we don't have those large group gatherings. We're trying to think about this differently. So we're going to be opening up that park to parking. We'll still be doing a drive-in view type style firework display there. And then although we aren't encouraging everybody to go to the park, we understand a lot of those people are still going to be utilizing that big, beautiful Cottonwood Community Kids Park over there. So we're still going to be doing some stuff over there. We're cautioning everybody, if you go, please do so responsibly. Please keep your distance, follow all those safety protocols we've all been going through. But I'm most excited this year for that fireworks display. We've been able to work with fireworks production to change our setup a little bit. So usually we have a really cool, what I consider a floor show. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but because of the situation and knowing people are going to be viewing these from homes and from different areas throughout the city this year rather than just at the park, we were able to work with you guys, Dave, to change out a lot of those shells to a more aerial display. So people get a more full show from further away to help encourage some of those activities to happen at home where you can properly socially distance. I know a lot of our church groups around here allow people to go to the parking lot there. So instead of cutting off half the show for them, we're encouraging you to go out, stay in the areas where you normally are at, and get that show from home. So that's just one of the ways we're changing. It's going to change a little bit our preparations. I won't have to cut 60 watermelons for our watermelon eating competition this year. So that's going to be a change for us as well. But what are some of the things you guys are kind of looking forward to this year under the new way we're doing it? Does it change any way you guys are going to go about how you prepare for this holiday?
No, not much. You know, of course, safety is our number one concern, but second concern is making sure we put on a good show for everybody. I still am going to light some stuff off of the slag pile. They'll just be a little bit larger things this year. We call them finale boxes, and they'll go plenty high no matter wherever you are in the valley. You'll be able to see them. But I would encourage everyone, hey, just because we're under these restrictions, you know, practice your social distancing, but get together with your family, have a barbecue. You know, at around 9 o'clock, get ready, because we're going to start as soon as it's dark enough for you to see them. Yeah. I would say, you know, let's not forget what we're celebrating. We've been through 2 or 3 months of torture, if you will, with the coronavirus and now the rioting and all that. That doesn't discount who we are, folks. Let's get together. So let's celebrate the 4th of July. Have your watermelon, your barbecue, have a cold beer. Get out there and remember who we are. Let's not forget that. And then at 9 o'clock, watch that show. Absolutely. I'm going to be having fun out there.
Yeah. Tune in, watch that fireworks display. It's one of the best in northern Arizona, if not the best. I'm partial, so I obviously am going to say it's the best. But while you're out there, remember, drink responsible, social distance responsible, be responsible, but enjoy it. When we come back, we're going to talk in a little bit about how the fireworks display goes and what it takes to light those off when we start setting up. But real quickly, before we go to break, Chief, one of the questions I get is, when do the fireworks start? What are some of the things we need to consider before we go to shoot those fireworks?
We look at a lot of things, but primarily it's weather related. Certainly, while we all desire to have rain and such, a thunderstorm is not a good thing right before we have the fireworks show because of the wind patterns and that. So while we wouldn't mind having a gentle rain a day or two before to wet things down, we are going to look and primarily we worry about wind, and it's not just wind at ground level. We have to look at the winds all the way up. These shells, Dave can tell you, the 6-inch shells go up 700-800 feet. I was going to say 1,000 feet. Mm-hmm. So we have to look at what the winds are, not just at ground level, but up 1,000 feet, and they can be substantially different. So we look at all the wind. We get a spot weather forecast for just right there where we're going to shoot it. We can actually get a spot weather forecast from the National Weather Service, and we request one, and they'll give us what the projected winds are at different levels, and we need to have the winds we shoot for 5 miles an hour in any direction or less is what we like to have, and we don't stretch it much over that. So that's that. And I think last but not least, we like it to be dark enough that you can really see the fireworks. So we may say 8:45, but sometimes it's really not dark enough till 9 or 9:15. So.
Absolutely, and thanks for clearing that up, because that is the single most asked question I get through Parks and Recreation is what time, and it's a tough one to answer. So you heard it here first. That's what we're doing. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dave Pollock a little bit more about what it takes to set this show up. All the fireworks that go into it, what we can kind of expect. So make sure you come back and join us here in a couple of minutes, and we'll see you right back here. I'm your host, Jack Teel with Inside Cottonwood.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.org.
Welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I'm your host, Jack Teel, the Parks and Recreation Manager with the City of Cottonwood, and I'm joined today by Chief Kuykendall, our Fire and Medical Chief here with Cottonwood Fire Department, as well as Dave Pollock from Fire Productions of Arizona. We talked a little bit before about what our event is going to look like and what you can kind of expect. Now we'd like to turn to it and focus on the fireworks display itself. So Dave, can you give us a little bit of how fireworks are made?
Well, the fireworks that we shoot in Cottonwood are all made in China. And over there, they have what it's called like provinces. They don't have states. They have provinces of basically the size of a state. And a lot of times the whole province builds fireworks. That's what they do.
Wow.
The fireworks, first you take gunpowder and you turn it into chunks, or you make little balls out of it and you add certain metals to that, and that gives you the color that comes out of the firework. But the Chinese people make them for us, and then they put them in a big seagoing cargo container and ship them over to us. And so then someone will order a show. We ask them, how much money they want to spend and what they're looking for, and then we have certain programs that we will present to them. And so then I pick up the show, come out and set it up and shoot it. But as far as making them, gosh, you can't go into all of what it takes to make those fireworks. I will tell you that our company shoots everything from a 2.5-inch shell to a 16-inch shell.
Wow.
But the larger shells are getting harder and harder to shoot because all the shoot sites, people are building closer and closer to them, and you need such a large area of open space before you can shoot those big shells. I don't, what else can I say?
That seems to be a lot of detail that goes into making those fireworks, and then just the logistics to get them here to be able to shoot. I can imagine that process takes a long time. So that probably makes sense on why we start working on 4th of July in January, February, March, start lining these things out. So that makes a lot of sense. So I know a lot of the times people will go out to any fireworks stand and they'll buy their own fireworks, which I'm not necessarily encouraging. But what are those differences between a residential firework that I can just go out and buy on the open market versus something you guys get as a commercial fireworks company?
Well, I believe it's the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Agency, who says how much gunpowder can be put into a Class C firework. Class C is common or consumer firework, which is what you would go to a stand and buy. So you know, your firecrackers, they only have so much gunpowder in them. You can't buy M80s or cherry bombs in the United States anymore. Those had much more gunpowder in them, and people were blowing their hands off.
Yeah.
And finally, the government stepped in and said, no, you know, if you guys can't respect them, you're not going to have them.
From a safety standpoint, probably the correct
a good
thing
idea.
to do. Yeah.
You know, blowing toilets out, finding things to do with those kind of fireworks you're not supposed to do is what we did, and so they don't let us have them anymore. But you're going to have your firecrackers, your rockets, bottle rockets, Roman candles, fountains, little cakes. Festival balls are very popular nowadays, and they're a smaller imitation of what we shoot on the 4th of July. They're 1.5 inches in diameter. You have a little tube, long fuse, it goes up in the air and breaks very much like ours, but they're smaller, and they're not as potentially as dangerous as what we shoot. What we shoot are considered Class B fireworks, and the only people that legally can buy those are people who have a I can't think of the word, a special license for it. Mike, if you're selling guns, you have one of these.
Well, you have a federal firearms license. This is a federal explosives license.
Right, this would be an explosives license, but Uncle Sam gets his fingers in it, and he knows exactly who's got them. So I'm not going to say the general public never gets a hold of these types of fireworks, but generally it's not a good idea if you don't know what you're doing, because they can kill you.
Absolutely. So I think it's fair to say, leave it to the professionals.
Yes.
Let us shoot those fireworks for you, and you still get to enjoy it without any of that risk of blowing your hands off or any of those adverse limitations that may come with getting your hands on some of those fireworks.
Right.
So then, you've been doing this for how long, Dave?
30 years.
And Chief, how long have you been involved in the fireworks?
Well, I've been at the fireworks show since I started with the City of Cottonwood, so that's 31 years ago, or now full-time, and before that a few years as a volunteer when I worked at the Sheriff's Office. So
here I was thinking that 15 years was a long time involvement. That is dwarfed in comparison to you guys. With that, I'm sure you've seen a lot of shows. Do you guys got a minute or two to tell me what your favorite show is? Some of the things you've seen?
Well, of course I would be lying if I said Cottonwood wasn't my favorite show.
Absolutely.
But I've done, I've done the World Series, Super Bowls, all the sporting events, arena football, weddings, funerals, homecomings, graduations, anything that people would want to celebrate with fireworks for, I've pretty well done it.
Like a fire chief's retirement?
I would be more than happy to do that for our chief, yes.
Chief, what about you? What are some of the favorite ones you've seen?
You know, a lot of years have been here in Cottonwood, and I will say this: out of all the fireworks shows I've been to, and I've been down in Phoenix years and years ago and seen shows, and that I think Cottonwood by far, for the area, the size of town we are, puts on the best show. I'll guarantee it's the best show in northern Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
The people in Prescott may not want to hear that or otherwise, but the reality is this is the best show in northern Arizona, and it rivals any show even down in the valley.
I may be biased, but I do have to agree. My fireworks have been limited. When I was a kid, I went and I watched them in San Francisco. That was pretty cool, sitting out on the ocean seeing those. But sitting down, watching those fireworks go off, and it might just be that it means my day's finally coming to an end when I see those fireworks go, and that might be the sweet moment. But I think it's fair to say that we have the best show in northern Arizona.
We do.
And not a surprise, we've got the best people behind it.
Right.
You heard it, Dave, you said it yourself. You've done the Super Bowl shows, you've done those things. The caliber of people we have working behind the scenes here in Cottonwood is incredible. And I, for one, am thankful to have such a great team. And I'm thankful we were able to talk through it. So when we come back, we'd like to talk a little bit more with Fire Chief about some of those safety things we need to consider, about the dry grass, the dry weeds, the fire restrictions we have in this area, why they are important, and what we need to do. So make sure you tune back in here in a minute or so when we come back and we talk with the Chief about some safety things we need to consider. I'm your host, Jack Teel, and this is Inside Cottonwood. We'll see you back in a second.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.org.
Welcome back, Cottonwood. My name is Jack Teel. I'm the Parks and Recreation Manager with the City of Cottonwood, and I'll be your host for Inside Cottonwood today. In this last segment, we're talking to the Fire Chief a little bit about safety. So Chief, when we start talking about fireworks, alarms start going off in your head, all the different things that can go wrong. But I know we've got a phenomenal fire team out there helping prevent any of these things. Can you tell us a little bit about the firework bans and the fire bans we have and why those are important?
Well, first of all, we were talking earlier here about different fireworks, and to be very clear, Arizona is very restrictive on fireworks. We have what are called permissible fireworks, and pretty much in Arizona you can't sell anything that shoots up in the air. And that's because Arizona as a whole, we have a very dry weather patterns. That's just our climate is very dry. We are susceptible to fires. We've seen where a lot of brush fires going on right now have been in the state this year, especially begin. We had a real wet season. Now we're dry. We had a lot of growth, and so we have those things. So first we'll just talk about it. Fireworks are very limited in Arizona in the first place, and I'll even go further. In the City of Cottonwood, even though the state has required that we allow the sale of these permissible fireworks, we don't allow the use of fireworks in the City of Cottonwood. That's just the realities of it. Right now we're in a fire ban. The county has a fire ban in place. The forests have went into level 2 fire restrictions around us. The City of Cottonwood, we are in fire restrictions. No fireworks at all is what we're saying right now for the safety, because we don't want to have fires. And so with that, I want to remind people that the only fireworks that are permissible in the City of Cottonwood over this 4th of July are the ones that Dave will be shooting on the 4th of July night. So we would ask that people please don't use them. Please don't, even I don't care what they are. I'll just throw out a few little statistics. A sparkler burns at 2,000 degrees. Many children are injured every year with just sparklers. Mm-hmm. In 2017, 8 people died in the United States from fireworks related injuries. We had almost 13,000 people were injured. So fireworks are and inherently can be very dangerous. So let's just get that out of the way, the first thing. As far as us preparing for the fireworks, that's why, again, one of the reasons why we have such a wonderful show here is because we have such a great site. The site we have over here at the fairgrounds and with the slag pile is very safe. We render it even safer. We have the City of Cottonwood maintenance crews go in. They cut down the grass and such in that open field there that's part of the Verde Valley Fairgrounds. We actually even usually burn out some of the areas using controlled burns to minimize that. The slag pile itself is pretty inflammable. Minerals Research graciously allows us to shoot fireworks that actually fall onto their property, but it's pretty safe as any place that I'm aware of to shoot these fireworks. And so we begin our preparation early every year, preparing the site to make sure that we're ready. Actually, even in the last 2 years now, this will be the second year that we've only allowed up to 6-inch shells. Dave loves to shoot those 8-inch shells, but we've starting to see more encroachment by buildings and such into that. So we're back, but I don't think anybody noticed last year that we have more 6-inch shells than we had because the cost of an 8 is so much more than a 6 that we're able to increase the length of the show. by doing that. Hopefully I answered your question, and probably more than you wanted.
Hey, you know, it's all good information though. So I did have a question on how do we prevent these different types of things that happen that night. But you answered that by doing the pre-burning. We work with our Public Works Department. We've got that big dirt lot, but as happens in most dirt lots, it likes to grow up with vegetation. So we work with our Public Works crew to go back there, knock it down as best as we can, and then of course those pre-burns on those sites. As Dave alluded to, you are seeing a lot more encroachment on these facilities, and like you said, Chief, we've now got a couple of houses that were just built within the last couple of months right there near our shoot site. So we have to take into account for those things, and although I think everybody enjoyed the 8s, you're right, you really cannot tell the difference between a 6 or an 8 unless you know what you're looking for.
That's right.
And the majority of us don't know. All we know is we get a heck of a show and it goes off really smoothly. So Chief, as we're going through it, I know you guys prepare for this a lot, but how do you guys do this and keep up with all the other things Cottonwood Fire and Medical does?
Well, you know, it's always busy. It's busy this time of year. A little bit different year this year with the COVID, but for a while our call volumes were down, but they're back up to normal again now. Everything seems to be back there. One of the things we do is we also get assistance from other departments that around us. We have, normally we have at least Jerome and Verde Valley Fire District, sometimes Camp Verde, have even sent over their additional brush type units for that night as much as they can spare them. Yeah. Of course, that's always relative too to what's going on in the state around us. One of our big partners in this is the Forest Service. But case in point, last year the Forest Service, due to all the other fires in the state, normally they send us 3 or 4 trucks to help us out with, or at least a minimum of 2. Last year we had one small unit with 1 guy because they were committed. But again, we have such a safety factor built in that we're able to control them. Yeah, we're busy, but we bring in extra crews and do the things that we have to do. What's most important to us is that we have a safe show, but secondly, it's that we provide and allow to have a great show so that the people of Cottonwood get a wonderful 4th of July celebration.
Absolutely, and I think when people come back and they ask us, well, why is Cottonwood the best? I think it's because that you've got everybody in the room working towards that same goal. Safety is your #1 priority, and putting on the best show possible for our community is as the #2 priority. And when everybody's working towards that same goal, you can't do anything else but succeed. So I want to thank both of you guys for coming in today, talking to us about the fireworks, talking to us about safety. We'd also like to take a moment to thank some of our partners and our sponsors in this. Minerals Research, as Chief was alluding to earlier, has done a big part in allowing us to do these things. Walmart was gracious enough to offer to donate some of the materials we needed this year for the cookout. We unfortunately won't be able to move forward with that this year, but they were going to come on as a partner with us and help us out there. We've worked with the fairgrounds for many years and Bedrock to make sure we can pull this off, have our parking logistics there, having the site plan there. So we just want to thank all of those people who put this together with us, partner with us on this one, and of course thank Cottonwood and our community. As we wrap up, guys, I want everybody to enjoy that 4th of July this year, that Independence Day. Understand that even though things are different, we're still going to try to connect as a community. We're going to put on the best show Cottonwood has, and we're going to move forward as a group, as a community together. So I thank you guys both for being here today. As we wrap up the segment, I hope everybody enjoys their Independence Day holiday this year in a safe, fun, and responsible manner. This is Jack Teel, the Parks and Recreation Manager with the City of Cottonwood, and this has been an episode of Inside Cottonwood. Thank you, and have a great day.